Hi guys, thanks for joining me. This is a tutorial for one of our Make It With projects, and the Make It With projects are things that you can make with existing templates that you may already have in your stash. I'm going to be showing you how to make this absolutely adorable little witch's hat, and to do that we're going to be using the Versatangle, and we're going to be using the circle from the sunflower template set. Now my templates are in white for the purpose of this tutorial because I'm going to be using a dark brown coloured wool, and also my circle template is 10mm high, whereas the sunflower circle is 15mm high, and I've printed this one a little bit shorter so it's easier for the camera to see inside the template. So those are the two templates that we're going to be using, the Versatangle and the circle from the sunflower template set. I will of course be using my flat mat with felt topper, and under here I've got my foam pad. I'm going to be using my multi-handle and my multi-punch, and this is going to be very useful for these big open shapes to help speed up the felting when we're doing it. I'm also going to be using my 40 spiral and my 38 spiral. As I mentioned before, the wool that I'm going to be using for this tutorial is our dark brown, and of course I'm going to be using my pocket scale to weigh out the measurements of wool for each of these templates. That's everything I think that and a pair of snippy scissors. Don't forget your snippy scissors. I always forget something. So that's everything that I'm going to be using to make the witch's hat. So let's hop straight in and start making our project. I'm going to begin with the Versatangle shape, and for that I've weighed out 2.5 grams of our wool, and to fill the Versatangle, it's a big open shape so it's not too difficult. I'm just going to start by sorting that little knotty bit out in my fibres. So I'm just going to grab myself a little bit of the fluff, and I'm going to start at the point. If you want, you can use a needle or two and pin out the corners if you just want to help sort of hold the larger templates in place. That's a little something that you can do. I'm going to start at this point and sort of fill. So the idea with the templates is that we start with the edges and then we fill into the middle, and what we're looking for is a nice even covering throughout the template. So I'm just going to start with a small bit, and this is about 0.2 of a gram. So that's what that sort of look like, if it's a little bit of a reference for you. Grab your fibre and just fold back the last little bit. That roll of fibre then goes up into the tip. Very light tacking stabs, just very lightly adhering it to the surface. You don't want to drive into your mat. Everything's nice and light. We just use the ends of the needles. So I'm just going to pop that down into that tip and just felt this bit, but leave this bit quite frizzy, because as we add more pieces we want to overlap, and that's what's going to hold the whole thing together. So my next bit, like so, and when I'm going down the side of a template, I'm laying the fibres down with a bit of overhang, run my needle up the side of the template and then bring these fibres in, and obviously making sure that we've got overlap on the last piece that we put down. The same again for the next bit. And it's just about getting the fibres down into the template really lightly. We're not doing any refining at the moment. So I'm down into this corner now. So I'm just going to pull off a small bit, fold it in half and use that rolled edge to give myself that point. Good bit of overlap. And this is all that we're going to do right the way around the template. And the weights and measures for this, the 2.5 grams for the Versatangle. If you've got to use a bit more or you use a bit less, then don't worry too much. It's a good starting point, it's a good jumping off point. Next bit. And just a little bit more in there. See, I've still got all this left. I'll pop a little bit more down in there. With the templates, as I just mentioned, we always start from the outside and backfill into the middle because the edges are important. So that's the first light stuffing of the template, and I've still got all of this to go in. So I've used a nice light needle. As soon as I feel my needle hit my mat, and the flat mat is great for this because you can really feel when your needle hits it and you just stop there. We're not driving in. Okay, so that's the first bit in. I'm going to use my multi-punch, and I'm doing a technique that I call just bouncing off the mat. So again, as soon as you feel the denseness of the mat, you're just going to stop, and all we're doing at the moment is just compacting these fibres quite lightly. That's all that I'm going to be doing. You can see it's really fluffy. I've got a little bit, tiny little bit of fibre adhesion to my felt topper, but not very much. And it's a nice messy shape at the moment. We don't want to felt this down too much. If you felt this bit down too hard and then try to add this, you may end up with some sort of like a sandwich looking affair, and we just want to try and get all of these fibres in. So I'm going to run my needle around, just get those fibres tucked back in. Bouncing technique again, just to nestle them down in there. And then go over, see if you've got any thin spots, and just fill using the rest of your fibres. So put a little more down over there, a little more down over there. A bit more down into the top. So that nice even covering. There. Okay, so once you've got pretty much all of your wool in there, I've still got this little bit over here, but I'm going to save that just in case I need to backfill. I'll hold this up to the light in a minute. Bouncing technique again. Once you've got it felted modestly, then you can take it out of the template, hold it up to the light. You can really see if you've got any sort of gaping thin spots, but this feels pretty good. So I've just gone all over that middle part. Then I'm going to come in with my single needle just around those edges. Now if you're making the Versatangle for making some bunting or doing anything other probably than this project, it's also we use the Versatangle for making carrots, but we will perhaps do that construction in a different video. For the witch's hat, we want to felt the edges a bit, but we actually want to leave them sort of the last 5mm around the edge. We actually want to leave it quite fluffy. So I'm going to, the top point needs to be felted a little bit, but mostly we're going to concentrate in the middle. So I'm going to tickle it off my mat, don't grab and pull. I'm just going to hold it up to the light. No screaming great big thin spots. But if you did have a bit of a thin spot, pull yourself off some fluff, lay it over, allow the rest of the fluff or the frizzy edges to blend out into your project, and that's how you can get you can add something in and get a nice sort of seamless blend into the rest of your project. So I'm going to go a little bit more vigorously, still using that bouncing technique, but I'm going to speed this up. So all over. And then I'm going to come in with my multi-needle and just go around again, still leaving that last sort of 5mm a bit more frizzy. There we go. So there's the second pass. You can see it's starting to refine down now. I'm going to give it one more pass with the multi-punch. And one more pass with my multi-tool. And once you've got it to this point, you know, it's really starting to hold its shape, and the firmer this gets, the less it will stick to any kind of surface. So now when I go over it a little bit, just give your template a little bit of a wiggle, and that will stop any adhesion to your surface. So that's where we're at the moment. Still a bit fluffy, but that's okay. I'm taking it out of the template now, and I'm going to what I call knock the stuffing out of it, and this is really quite driving. I'm going all over, and this technique really helps to flatten it out. Now you will get some distortion and spread when you do this. So all over, lift it from the mat, and because we took the time to firm it up first, that now means that when we do that, knocking the stuffing out of it, it really won't stick to our mat. Back into the template, I'm just going to go around the edge with my single needle to bring it all in. And that's the nice thing about the template, is you can always return your piece to the template and bring it back into the right shape. So this is now firming up quite nicely. And I've kept the same side facing the mat. That's the side that I've been working on. That's the side that faces the flat mat. And I find that the surface, or the face that faces the flat mat, comes out a lot smoother with a nicer finish. So that will be the outside. I would go over this a few times more, but for the speed of this video, I'll do that off of camera. But you're just going to firm that up really nicely. Again, leave your frizzy edges. You just want to firm up this sort of main part in here, and you want it quite crisp. You know, we do want this quite firm. So that's that part. I'm going to firm this up a little bit more off of camera. You don't need to sit here and watch me just going over the same thing, and I'd probably go over it maybe 3 or 4 more times, but there we go. So next we're going to make the circle part. To make the circle, it's very much exactly the same as the Versatangle. We are going to put pieces down all the way around with that overhang. Run your needle around the outside of your template. Pull a bit off. And for this one, the edge is really important, because obviously this is going to form the brim of our hat. So I'm just going to start, just hold that template, run my needle around, bring these back in very loosely. You know, as you put in the next bit, you can pull your template ever so slightly so that you've got that edge to follow. The next bit, and take a moment and stack your fibres if you need to, just to sort them out. There. So what I will do is just get this started, and then I'll speed up the footage as I'm refining it down, just to make things go a little quicker. Now, as I mentioned before, if you're using the sunflower template, yours will be 15mm, so it'll actually be a bit easier to stuff your template. I've still got this bit. So my first initial pass, bouncing technique, and it might not feel like the needles are doing anything, but they really are. You just want to very lightly start compacting it. Just go all over, and then I've got a thin bit there, so add a bit more, light tacking stabs, bring that edge in. And just make sure you've got a nice even covering, and you can always add a little bit more if you need to. So once you've got your fibres in, get them holding their shape in the template, but still quite loose. Getting the edges in. And then lift it, and for that first sort of pass, just tickle it off the mat, back in the template, and bouncing technique again. I'm going to come in with my multi-tool and just run round. And this is going to be it now. I'm going to be hopping between the multi-punch, my multi-tool, and my single needle. So I'll speed this footage up, and I'll see you once it's done. Okay, so I firmed this up quite a bit. It's still a little bit fluffy. And now what I'm going to do is remove it from the template and again knock the stuffing out of it. So I really am giving it some welly, just all over. And then again, tickle it off the mat. You can even go over it again. But as I mentioned before, we just need that initial sort of firm felt so that when we do that, we don't end up with it really stuck to our mat. Back into the template, and you'll see that that sort of distortion that using the multi-punch has made. So we've got all of this sort of extra wool now that's curling up around the side of the template. So that's just we're gonna nice straight needle straight back down and put all of that fluff into our edge, and that's going to give us a nice strong edge. Back to more refinement, and this brim you do want to make quite stiff. So I'll spend a little bit of extra time going over this. There. So I will leave that there for the purpose of this video, but what I will do is go over it a few times more and really firm this bit up. So we've got that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off camera now, and I'm just going to carry on firming this up for a few more minutes, and then we can start the assembly. What I thought I would do is very quickly just come back in, because upon further refinement I've discovered that this part of this edge is a little bit thin, and I want to show you how to fix something like that really simply. Get this whole sort of bit here needs a bit of extra. So I'm going to get some fibres, just a pinch. I might have to do this in two passes. What you're going to do is overlap half of the fibres this side and wrap them around. And this doesn't have to be neat at this point. A few light stabs that side, turn it over, a few light stabs that side, and I need to add a little bit more down there as well. So again, put those fibres down, wrap it round, just tack it down both sides. And where I've folded it, it's made a weird kind of angly shape, but that's okay because we're going to put it back into the template now. Bouncing technique again, just on one side, turn it over, bouncing technique on the other side, turn it back over, little bit of multi-needle as well, all the way round, and that'll just bring it back into line. And there, my edge now is a lot neater and a lot nicer. So just wrapping edges is probably a better friend to sorting them out than trying to lay more fibre on top on one side. So that nice wrap, and then the frizzy edges of that wrap just blend out into the rest of the project, so when you go over it, it becomes seamless. So I thought I would just show you how I dealt with that. So now we can start the assembly of our little witch's hat. So here are our two parts, our Versatangle with a fluffy edge and our nice crisp brim circle. You could iron these now if you wanted. You can iron the whole thing afterwards. There's no set way to assemble this, so I'm just going to show you the construction. You may not want to iron it at all. This one isn't ironed, and I decided to leave it that way because I liked this sort of flocked finish to the hat. So it's entirely up to you what you want to do with it. So there's our two parts. What I'm going to do is ever so lightly just pull this out a little bit. Now if you're making this for a wine bottle hat, which is what one of mine is, then the length of this isn't quite wine bottle, so we'll have to do a little bit of manually pulling and shaping once we've got it assembled. But what I'm going to do is you're just going to fold it completely in half like that. Then you're going to get your needle, and again I'm just using my 40 spiral initially, just a few light tacking stabs, turn it over and go the other way with it as well, and that's it. That's very, very lightly, that's what we're doing there. Now I'm just going to come up with my 38 spiral, and again let me zoom in a little bit, and you're just catching those two edges, and we're using a driving motion because we really want these fibres to knit together. I'm even going to go up to my 36 star, and this one rarely gets any love. It's a very, very grabby needle, but I want a good join. So I'm joining it all the way down except for this last little, I don't know, 10 mil maybe. So pop your finger inside your little hat and you'll see that some parts will be starting to pull apart. So just go back and really sort of close that edge, and don't worry about there being a line or anything like that. We're going to fix all of that. This is just about getting the right shape. That's not too bad. My finger's not long enough. There, so that's quite well attached. But now what I'm going to do is grab a little light piece, just a few sort of fibres, and bouncing technique again. I'm just going to run them up that line, not quite to the top. Few little stabs, then pop your finger back inside, because we don't want to, you know, felt this shut. You could, if you wanted to, actually stuff this, which would probably make things a bit easier. But I'm not doing that. I'm making, oh, I want this hollow. So I'm using my multi-punch, light bouncing technique. And I'm going all the way down, leaving that last sort of 10 mil. Bounce and turn, bounce and turn, and just keep going all over it. Like this, up and down. And because this is firmly felted, it won't stick to itself or close very easily. You've got to really be driving your needles through for that to happen. So this is all just about refinement of, still got a little bit of a line there, so I'm just going to take a little bit more fluff, spread it out, spread it over. And this is just keep going now until you've got a really nice firm cone of a shape. And if you've got, I don't exactly have it, but if you've got a persistent line, get a thicker needle and just tease your fibres. Just tease your fibres across the line and just mess them up a little bit, get them a bit frizzy, and then come back in. So I'm going to keep going over this now with my multi-punch, and it is, again, it's that bouncing technique. You don't want to come through this side and out this side. You want to be stopping so that, you know, you're not going to be driving fibres out the bottom. So very, very nice and light, and then just keep rolling. And it will just keep refining and refining. This bit still down here is still quite frizzy, and we're going to need that for attaching to the base. So I think that will do that for now. So next up we grab our base. What we're going to do then is just open out. Get the bottom of your cone and you're just going to open out. That's why we left that split there, and that's what you're going to do on the middle of your base, which I realise is not going to come out terribly well on the camera, I don't think, but because it's, so you get it in the middle and you want to open it as much as you can. It looks like it's in the middle. Let me just adjust the camera angle a little bit. Get your light needle and run round that bit just on the edge, right on the edge, and you are going to use a driving motion, but we're just doing it a little bit, because if you get to this part and you go, oh, it's not in the middle, you can just pull it off and there's not really anything to fix. So take your time, a few little tacking stabs here and there just to get it in place. Make sure that you're happy with it. Is that in the middle? Yes, probably. And if it's not, just make it a lopsided hat. So what we're going to do now is I've got my beast again. I've got my 36 star, and I'm just driving right through using all the barbs on the needle right down into the project there, like so. So there's our witch's hat in place. Now what I'm going to do is grab myself another little bit of fluff, and over that part where we joined it, back to my light needle, and I'm just laying it down nice and frizzy, but these extra fibres will help create a little bit more of a seamless transition between the brim and the pokey up bit. I don't know what that part of a hat's called actually, the pointy bit. So a little bit more. And if you find that no matter what you do, you absolutely cannot get a seamless blend, that's absolutely okay. That's why there's ribbon, which is what I did with that one. So that's my fluff lightly down. So now I'm just going to start blending it. It's going to go round, and I've got my needles on that kind of angle so it's catching the pokey up bit and the brim, and it's not focusing in the same area too much in one go. It's just going to be bringing it round and into shape, just getting it a little firmer. You can see I've got a bit of a lump there, so thicker needle, just tease those fibres out, frizz them out. I mean, obviously you can go as far with this as you want, but it's a nice size hat, and it's good for sticking on little felted creatures, or little makes, dolls, and putting them on dealy boppers. There's been a big discussion with the pixies, the Makery pixies lately, about dealy boppers. So just work over your hat some more, And at this point, the integrity of it is pretty sound, or at least it should be. So you can, you can manhandle it a little bit. So now I'm going to turn my attention to the base. And to do that, you're going to need your snippy scissors. And let me move that out of the way. There's the middle. Oh, you can absolutely just leave this as it is. If you're putting it on the end of something like dealy boppers, then you might want to put a little bit of stuffing in there, simply so you can glue the springy bit of the dealy bopper in there. Just snip a little hole right in the middle, and then, being careful, which I never am, you're just going to snip up that way, turn it round 180, snip back the other way, and then on the cross, I think I just went through my hat, there. So snipping that cross in the bottom, and then I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but then just take those crosses, those little tabs from that cross, and felt them. Let's see if we can get zoomy in there. And felt them back down. Just push it down. And again, you don't want to be driving out the bottom of your project too much. So just turn it round, flatten it down. And this will also help bolster the integrity of, that join from the inside as well. But I might go up to my 38 spiral and just give it a little bit more. Now, if you are putting it over something, now is the time to start pulling this out to the size that you want, and pop it on the thing that you are going to be let me adjust my camera down here a minute. There. So pop it on the thing that is going to be wearing it, and see if you've got the right kind of size. And if you have, great. But these things are never simple. If you get, which I have, with the orange, it happened with the orange one, if you get a hole, then just lay down, grab yourself another pinch, put it down, and then just start covering and patching the hole. The key to it is, again, it's just leaving the edges frizzy to blend out into the rest of your project. My advice is, do not do a two-tone where the brim is a different colour to this. You could, of course you could. If you are going to do that, what I would do is perhaps cut a hole in the brim, put the pointy bit down through and open out underneath, for that, if you wanted a step. But I'm going to keep life simple for myself and not do that. So I'm going around the that sort of joined area again, bringing it back down. I've folded my brim back down, just go over it. Light bouncing technique, and this will, it will just sort of strengthen it and bring everything together. And roughing this up does help give that sort of crinkly look to the hat as well. So there, that I'm not going to declare as done apparently, because I'm keeping going. Put it down, there we go. That I'm going to declare is done. One little thing that you can do is give it a, if you want to do that sort of crooked witch's hat sort of look, is to give it a real smush. And if you want to do something that's even more exaggerated, then what I did is give it a smush, and the fibres just kind of crumple in their own way. You want a chunky needle, so I'm going to use my 38 spiral and just go across. Now this is a driving motion, not too much, but do that line across there, then bring it over and do the outer edge as well. And what that will do is that will give you a very definitive bend. So then if you wanted another one, you would concertina it, and again, like so, in there. And then maybe a little bit of fluffy to have to deal with a bit further down. If you want to add in these sort of things a little more firmly, just a light needle, drive through to the inside void, and that way you can really start putting some quite bizarre shapes to your hat. So there we go. Let me put my foam over there, you might be able to see that bit better. So there we go, there's that hat, there's that hat, and there's that hat. So 3 very different hats. Obviously you can put all manner of decorations, ribbons, beads, buckles, feathers. This one's going to have a spotty feather on it, maybe this one will, I don't know. I'm going to decorate these up. It's entirely up to you how you want to decorate your hat. So there are a few different ways and colours. Obviously you can make this shorter, so if you just wanted a shorter hat, then just use the top part of the Versatangle, so you can make this any size that you want. Just remember, however high you want the hat, just give yourself that extra 10mm for doing your join to your base. I hope that you have enjoyed the little witch's hat tutorial make it with here today. If you aren't already, please do subscribe to the channel, hit that little like button on the video, and if you hit the bell icon, that will notify you when we upload new videos. Thank you for spending your time with me today. I do hope that you have enjoyed it, and I wish you all a very crafty day.